The narratives surrounding Lamar Jackson have always been loud. Some fair, some flat-out lazy. But one thing we know for sure, this man continues to generate conversations that go far beyond the stat sheet. And this week, it wasn't just fans or media figures weighing in. A former NFL wide receiver, someone who knows what it's like to line up against the best of the best, came out swinging in Jackson's defense. And not only was he right, he said the quiet part out loud that a lot of people in the football world haven't had the guts to admit. We're talking about Chad Johnson, aka Chad Ochocinco, a guy who spent years torching defenses in the AFC North and facing off against the Ravens when Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, and Terrell Suggs were roaming the field. He knows what elite looks like. And when he talks about Lamar Jackson, you can hear it in his voice. It's not just respect, it's admiration. It's understanding. It's the perspective of someone who recognizes greatness when he sees it. Chad joined Shannon Sharpe on their show recently, Nightcap. And during what started as a discussion about Kyle Hamilton's massive extension, the conversation naturally turned toward Lamar Jackson and everything that comes with being him. The contract, the expectations, the criticism, the playoff talk. And while Shannon Sharpe had a few things to say, we'll get to that in a minute, it was Chad who dropped the hammer. He didn't tiptoe around it. He didn't play politics. He looked straight into the camera and said, "I don't care what the numbers say. Lamar Jackson is a 3-time MVP. They took one of those away from him. Now before you start pulling up Pro Football Reference or firing off tweets. Yes, officially, Lamar has 2 MVP awards. No one's rewriting history." But what Chad was getting at had nothing to do with what the NFL wrote on a plaque. He was talking about performance, about what our eyes told us, about a season so dominant, so efficient, that it felt criminal Lamar didn't get recognized for it. He was referring to 2023, a year in which Lamar threw for 41 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions, led his team to the best record in the AFC, and made the entire league look like it was running 2 speeds slower than him. According to Chad, that was an MVP-level campaign, and in many ways, he's not wrong. Josh Allen had a great year, sure. But when you break it down by pure impact, by how essential one player was to his team's success, Lamar Jackson carried Baltimore in ways no one else in the league did last season. But that wasn't even the most important thing Chad said, because what really stuck out was his read on Lamar's mindset. He said, "Lamar just wants to play football. His eyes are on the prize. He's focused on dominating the AFC North and getting that Super Bowl. That's it. No distractions. No outside noise. No marketing campaigns or brand building. Just ball." And honestly, if you've paid any attention to Lamar over the years, that tracks. While other quarterbacks spend their offseason building personal brands, Lamar's in the lab, grinding, watching tape, getting better. The irony? That same tunnel vision, the focus on the game, is the exact reason he got criticized so heavily during his contract negotiations. Remember that? All the people saying, he doesn't have an agent. His mom's representing him. He's too involved. He's not involved enough. Everyone suddenly became a contract expert. But what that whole saga showed us is something fans in Baltimore already knew. Lamar isn't wired like most guys. He doesn't care about perception. He cares about production. And when it comes to production, he's doing things the league has never seen. Now, here's where things got interesting. Shannon Sharpe, who played the game at a Hall of Fame level and understands postseason football as well as anyone, responded to Chad's comments with a bit of hesitation. He said something that a lot of Lamar critics have said before. We still haven't seen Lamar Jackson show up in a big-time postseason game the way he does in the regular season. And look, let's be fair here. Shannon wasn't slandering Lamar. He wasn't calling him a choke artist or anything crazy. But the implication was clear. The Lamar we know, the one who lights up defenses for 4 quarters, hasn't fully shown up in January. But here's the thing. That's just not true. That narrative is outdated. It's lazy, and it completely ignores what Lamar did in the playoffs last year. Let's rewind to the divisional round against the Texans. For total touchdowns, a complete dismantling of Houston's defense. Baltimore put up 34 points, and Lamar accounted for most of them. Did he throw for 300 yards? No. But did he dominate the game in every way that mattered? Absolutely. And that's what people miss when they reduce playoff performances to box scores. Football isn't fantasy stats. It's not just about yards or how many deep balls you complete. It's about situational football. Third downs, red zone, clock management, leadership, and Lamar did all of that. The Ravens didn't need him to throw for 350 against Houston. They needed him to control the game, protect the ball, get them into the right place. And he did it perfectly. Go back even further to that 2019 playoff game against Tennessee, the one critics always bring up. Yes, the Ravens lost. Yes, Lamar threw 2 picks. But what nobody wants to mention is that he had over 500 total yards in that game. He was under siege, playing from behind, trying to will his team to victory while his defense got run over and his receivers dropped critical passes. That was not a bad performance. That was a desperate effort to drag a team that wasn't ready across the finish line. And how about the wild card win over Pittsburgh last year? 2 touchdowns, a double-digit win, and a game that felt way more lopsided than the scoreboard showed. These are not bad playoff games. They are good performances that get overshadowed by a narrative that's stuck in 2020. Now, is it fair to say Lamar hasn't had his postseason moment yet? That signature game that shuts everyone up? Sure. But let's be clear, he's had good playoff games. He's won 3 times in January. And the idea that he disappears in the postseason is a myth that keeps getting recycled without context. Shannon's point, that we haven't seen MVP Lamar show up in the playoffs, might sound compelling, but it ignores reality. He did show up. Against Houston. Against Pittsburgh. Even in that Tennessee loss. But when you're Lamar Jackson and the standards are sky high, people act like anything short of a Super Bowl run is a failure. It's a lose-lose situation. Win 10 games in the regular season? Do it in January. Light up the scoreboard? Do it when it counts. Lose 1 game you're supposed to win. He's not that guy. It's exhausting. And it's unfair. Because quarterbacks don't win in the playoffs alone. It's a team game. Always has been. Always will be. What gets lost in all this noise is that Lamar Jackson is still ascending. We're watching a player who just had the best year of his career after already having an MVP on his resume. And the scary part? There might be another level. Another gear. Because every time people say, well, that's probably his ceiling, he proves them wrong. Remember after the 2019 season? People said, well, that was the best we'll ever see from Lamar. And then he followed it up with an even more efficient, more controlled, more complete version of himself. So now, the question is, what does the next version of Lamar Jackson look like? If 2023 was him at 90%, what happens when the deep ball gets a little sharper? When the connection with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman matures even more? When Todd Monken's offense enters year 3 and everything slows down for him? That's the version of Lamar that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. That's the version that can take Baltimore to the Super Bowl. And that's why Chad Johnson is right to push back against the narratives. Because what we're witnessing isn't normal. It's not something you can measure purely with analytics or postseason records. It's something more. Lamar Jackson is rewriting the rules of the position, and just because he hasn't done it in front of the confetti yet doesn't mean it's not coming. So when people say, well, he has to do it in the playoffs, the answer is simple. He already has. And if you're still not convinced, just wait. Because that moment, that undeniable, no more excuses, MVP-level playoff performance that everyone's been demanding, it's coming. And when it does, the same folks who doubted him will be the first to pretend they always believed. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens heading into this season, it almost feels like the stage is being set for something historic. This isn't just a good roster. It's potentially one of the best groups the franchise has ever put together. Depth across the board, star power in key positions, continuity in the coaching staff, and a quarterback in Lamar Jackson who's playing at the absolute peak of his powers. But with that level of talent comes one thing, sky-high expectations. And that's what makes predictions for this team so fascinating. Because depending on who you ask, the Ravens could end up anywhere from 12 wins to 14 wins, from first seed in the AFC to maybe fighting for the 2 or 3 seed. The range is tight, but the potential ceiling? It's championship level. So let's walk through what this season could look like for Baltimore. Not just the wins and losses, but the moments that might define their year, the games that could tell us who they really are. Because this isn't an easy road. The Ravens have one of the toughest schedules in football, filled with marquee matchups against the league's biggest names. But that's exactly the kind of test this team needs. After all, if you want to be the best, you've got to take down the best. Week 1, under the lights, against the Buffalo Bills. What a way to start the season. Last year, Baltimore came up just short against Kansas City in a heartbreaking finish, and now they open against another AFC powerhouse in Buffalo. This is one of those games where the result might not define the season, but the tone will. If the Ravens go into Buffalo and come out with a win, it sets the entire season off on the right foot. It tells the rest of the league that Lamar and company aren't waiting around to get hot. They're coming for it right out of the gate. And honestly, with how Buffalo's defense struggled against the run last year, this feels like a game where Derrick Henry can stamp his arrival in purple and black in a big way. A road win in Week 1 would be a statement that Baltimore is serious about being the #1 seed. Then comes Week 2 against Cleveland. Now, division games are always tricky. The Browns are that team that people love to overlook, but they always find a way to make life miserable for the Ravens. But here's the thing. Baltimore knows how costly those early division losses can be. We saw it last season when a Week 2 slip-up against Las Vegas put them behind schedule. I don't think they let that happen again. I think this is a team that understands the importance of starting strong, especially in a division where every team has talent. A win against Cleveland, in front of their home crowd, feels like the most realistic outcome. And just like that, you could be looking at a 2-0 start. Week 3 is another primetime showcase, Detroit at Baltimore. Now, the Lions are a scrappy, well-coached group that has been one of the NFL's best stories over the last 2 seasons. But John Harbaugh's teams have been excellent in primetime at home. It's when the Ravens usually bring their best football. And this, to me, feels like one of those games where the Ravens pull away in the second half. Lamar thrives on these moments, and with weapons like Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman now more developed in this offense, the Lions could be in trouble. I see Baltimore handling business and moving to 3-0. And then comes the real test. Kansas City, at Arrowhead, Week 4. You don't even need me to hype this one up. Ravens versus Chiefs has become one of the NFL's modern rivalries, with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson representing the 2 styles of greatness at quarterback. And while Baltimore has beaten Kansas City before, they've never done it at Arrowhead when it felt like both teams were at their best. This is the measuring stick game. Win it, and the Ravens send shockwaves through the league. Lose it, and it's not the end of the world, but it does plant that seed of doubt. I'll be honest, I think Baltimore has a real shot here. The Chiefs' defense is strong, but Baltimore's offense looks like it's about to hit a stride we haven't seen yet. If they pull this off, 4-0 becomes a real possibility. After that, you look at games against Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, Minnesota, and the second matchup with Cleveland. Each one has its challenges, but the Ravens will likely be favored in most of them. Houston is young and explosive, but Baltimore's defense is built to frustrate quarterbacks who haven't seen everything yet. The Rams with Matthew Stafford and now Davante Adams are dangerous, and that could very well be a trap game. But this Ravens roster has the maturity to bounce back from those kinds of spots, especially with a bye week right after. Coming out of the bye, I like Baltimore's chances to go on a run. What's fascinating is the stretch in November and December. That's when the schedule gets brutal, but also when contenders separate themselves from pretenders. The Ravens will face the Jets with Aaron Rodgers healthy again, the Bengals on a Thursday night, the Steelers twice, and a late-season trip to Green Bay. Those are the battles that harden you. That's where this team will be forced to find answers. Can the offensive line hold up against relentless pass rushers? Can the secondary handle elite receivers in crunch time? Can Lamar find that gear that silences every critic? That's what we'll learn in that stretch. And look, let's be honest. The Ravens aren't going 17-0. Nobody does. They're going to drop a game or 2 they shouldn't. Maybe it's against the Rams. Maybe it's against Minnesota. Maybe it's that late December matchup at Lambeau against the Packers when the cold weather levels the playing field. But even with a couple of stumbles, this team is talented enough to finish in that 12-14 win range. Best case, 14-3. Worst case, 12-5. Most realistic, 13-4. And that record probably puts them in the top 2 of the AFC, if not the #1 seed outright. But it's not just about the record. It's about how they get there. Because every season has its defining moments. The games you look back on in January and say, that's when they figured it out. That's when they became who they are. Maybe it's a primetime shootout in Kansas City. Maybe it's a grinded-out win against Pittsburgh. Maybe it's Lamar hitting Zay Flowers for a game winner against the Jets in the snow. Whatever it is, Baltimore will have its share of those moments. And those are the experiences that turn a great team into a championship team. What excites me most about these predictions is that we're not talking about a team that needs everything to break right to succeed. We're talking about a team with built-in resilience. Depth at running back with Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. A young star receiver in Zay Flowers ready to take that second-year leap. Rashad Bateman, healthier and hungrier than ever. Mark Andrews back to full strength. A defense led by Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton that might be the most versatile in football. And let's not forget, this group has continuity. Year 3 of Todd Monken's offense. Year 2 of Zach Orr's defense. That matters. In a league where change is constant, stability is a weapon. So when I look at the Ravens season, my prediction isn't just about the win-loss record. It's about identity. This is a team that knows who they are. They're physical. They're fast. They're unselfish. They can win ugly in the trenches or light up the scoreboard through the air. That balance makes them dangerous. And it makes them the kind of team that doesn't just survive a brutal schedule, but thrives because of it. That's why I believe 13-4 is the sweet spot. A record that shows dominance, but also reflects the reality of the NFL grind. A record that earns you home field advantage for at least part of the playoffs. And most importantly, a record that gives Lamar Jackson the platform to rewrite the postseason narrative once and for all. Because make no mistake, everything this season builds toward January. And when the lights are brightest, the Ravens want to be at home, with Lamar leading the charge, and with the weight of an entire city behind them. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In an unexpected twist that has left fans and analysts buzzing across the league, whispers have begun circulating that defensive tackle Michael Pierce has dramatically reversed his stance on retirement and instead chosen to extend his career with the Baltimore Ravens. The news, while not yet officially confirmed by the organization, has spread like wildfire through team circles, fueling speculation about internal discussions that may have persuaded the veteran to keep his cleats on the field for at least one more campaign. Observers close to the Ravens have hinted that Pierce's decision could be tied to the team's strong defensive identity and the opportunity to make another deep playoff run, which has reportedly reignited his passion for the game. Ravens insiders suggest that coaches and teammates quietly lobbied for his return, emphasizing not only his formidable physical presence, but also the stability he brings to the locker room. The rumor alone has electrified fans who believed Pierce's chapter in football had closed, leaving many to question how a sudden shift of this magnitude could have developed so quickly after previous signals pointing toward retirement were strongly voiced. Still, the possibility feels increasingly real as momentum gathers. Speculation about the circumstances surrounding this reversal continues to grow, with sources suggesting that Pierce may have been swayed by both personal and professional considerations that reignited his competitive fire. Some insiders whisper that contract negotiations were smoother than expected, giving him both financial security and the reassurance of a defined role on the defensive line. Others point to the influence of Baltimore's tight-knit culture, one that has consistently valued loyalty and family-like bonds, making it difficult for longtime contributors to step away. In fact, those close to Pierce claim he was moved by emotional conversations with teammates, who reminded him how vital his presence is to maintaining the unit's reputation as one of the league's toughest fronts. There is also chatter that his physical condition improved drastically over the offseason, convincing him that his body was not only capable of handling another year, but perhaps primed for one of his most dominant seasons yet. Whether motivated by pride, camaraderie, or unfinished business, Pierce's apparent change of heart has turned what was expected to be a farewell into the beginning of a new chapter with the Ravens, creating both excitement and intrigue. The implications of this rumored return stretch far beyond one player, as analysts quickly began to sketch out scenarios in which Baltimore's defense reclaims its identity as the anchor of the team's Super Bowl aspirations. Pierce, with his proven ability to clog running lanes and apply pressure at the line of scrimmage, immediately strengthens a rotation that had shown flashes of dominance but lacked consistency without him fully engaged. For a franchise that has historically leaned on defense as the backbone of its success, the emotional and tactical boost provided by Pierce could ripple throughout the roster. Fans already imagine a revitalized defensive front where his presence allows younger talents to develop at a steadier pace, while veterans feel renewed confidence in their pursuit of another championship. Conversations around training facilities and sports talk shows now speculate on whether this move could even alter the team's draft and free agency strategies, shifting priorities in light of Pierce's unexpected continuation. The rumor has already sparked heated debates among pundits, with some calling it a masterstroke of timing and others cautioning that the physical demands of returning might still test his durability. Either way, the story is captivating attention. From the perspective of rival teams, the rumor of Pierce's return has sparked concern as AFC opponents recognize the immediate impact his reemergence could have on game planning. His ability to dominate the interior forces offenses to adapt, often requiring double teams that free up opportunities for edge rushers and linebackers, thereby compounding Baltimore's defensive threats. Coaches around the league, according to speculative reports, have already begun quietly re-evaluating their blocking schemes in case the whispers materialize into fact. Some even suggest that his decision not only boosts Baltimore, but also reshapes the competitive balance within the division, particularly at a moment when the Ravens are pushing to solidify themselves as perennial contenders. Yet, beyond tactics, the emotional undertone of this rumored development is equally compelling. For fans who had resigned themselves to losing a beloved figure, the idea of a comeback story reignites their loyalty and optimism, feeding into the mythos of a franchise known for resilience and comebacks. If confirmed, Pierce's reversal could become one of those rare off-season twists that redefine expectations, catching rivals off guard while galvanizing a fan base hungry for dominance. The sense of anticipation has become palpable. As the story continues to circulate, what stands out most is the sheer unpredictability of professional sports and the delicate balance between personal decisions and team ambitions. Michael Pierce's rumored change of heart captures the essence of why fans remain so invested in the game. The possibility that narratives can flip in a single moment, turning what seemed final into the start of something entirely new. While official confirmation has yet to surface, the speculation itself has generated waves of excitement, uniting Ravens supporters in renewed hope. Should Pierce indeed return, it would serve not only as a boost to Baltimore's immediate prospects, but also as a symbolic reminder of the enduring bonds between players and franchises that transcend statistics. Until clarity arrives, the conversation will continue to swirl across social media, sports bars, and locker rooms, with every whisper feeding into the mystery. Whether seen as strategy, sentiment, or sheer competitive instinct, the alleged decision ensures that the name Michael Pierce remains firmly in the spotlight, a testament to the magnetic pull of the Ravens and the irresistible drama of football itself. The rumor may still hover, but its impact is already undeniable. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.